Welcome back to the Tasty Cooking Creations channel. Ever wondered how to make the best, freshest chocolate chip cookies from scratch? We are about to embark on a journey into the delightful world of home baking, where the magic of a few simple ingredients transforms into a sweet, crispy, gooey delight that is a fresh chocolate chip cookie. Imagine the irresistible aroma of cookies baking in your own kitchen, the texture of the dough beneath your fingertips, the satisfaction of seeing those golden brown goodies cooling on your kitchen counter. Making fresh chocolate chip cookies from scratch gives you control over what goes into your treats. You can choose all natural ingredients, adjust the sweetness to your liking, and leave out any preservatives. Plus, there's something truly special about biting into a cookie fresh from the oven, isn't there? In today's video, we'll be exploring the art of baking the perfect chocolate chip cookies. By the end of this video, you'll know the step-by-step process to make mouth-watering homemade chocolate chip cookies. Let's get started. The first step in our cookie-making journey is gathering all the necessary ingredients. To craft the freshest, most delectable chocolate chip cookies from scratch, we'll need a selection of specific, high-quality ingredients. Let's start with the basics. We need all-purpose flour, which is the foundation of our cookies. It gives them structure and texture. Next, we need some baking soda to help our cookies rise and become wonderfully fluffy. A pinch of salt is also essential to balance the sweetness and enhance the overall flavor. Then comes the sugar. We'll use a mix of brown and white sugar. Brown sugar will provide a deep caramel-like flavor and a chewy texture, while white sugar will create those irresistible crispy edges. Butter plays a huge role in our cookies too. It brings richness, flavor, and contributes to the texture. Make sure it's unsalted as we're controlling the salt content ourselves. Now, the stars of the show, the eggs and the chocolate chips. Eggs add moisture and bind all the ingredients together, while the chocolate chips, well, they need no explanation. Choose a high-quality chocolate for the best results. And finally, a dash of pure vanilla extract for that sweet, aromatic flavor that rounds everything off. Now, if you need to substitute some ingredients, there are options. You can replace all-purpose flour with gluten-free flour if you're catering to dietary restrictions. Coconut sugar or maple syrup can stand in for white sugar, and applesauce makes a great substitute for eggs in vegan recipes. Remember though, substitutions might slightly alter the texture and taste of your cookies. It's all about finding what works best for you and your taste buds. Also, it's worth noting that the quality of your ingredients can significantly impact the end product. Fresh, high-quality ingredients will always give you the best cookies. Now that we have all the ingredients ready, it's time to move on to the mixing process. Now, it's time to mix everything together and create our cookie dough. Baking is a blend of science and art, and the order in which ingredients are combined can make a world of difference to the final outcome. Let's dive into the details, shall we? First things first, in a large bowl, start by creaming together the softened, unsalted butter and sugars. You'll want to mix until it's light and fluffy. This should take about 3 minutes. The sugars don't just sweeten the cookies, but also help in creating a tender texture. Next, beat in the eggs, one at a time, ensuring each is fully incorporated before adding the next. This is where patience truly pays off. The eggs provide structure and moisture to the dough, so it's crucial to give them the time they need to blend in fully. Now it's time for our dry ingredients. Combine the flour, baking soda, and salt in a separate bowl. Gradually add this to our wet mixture, ensuring each addition is well incorporated before adding the next. But remember, we don't want to overmix here. Overmixing can lead to a dense, hard cookie, and we're aiming for soft and chewy goodness. Once the dry ingredients are just combined, fold in the chocolate chips. Ah, the star of our show. We want these scattered evenly throughout the dough for that perfect bite every time. The dough should now be a little sticky but not too wet, and it should hold its shape when rolled into a ball. If it's too dry, add a splash of milk. If it's too wet, a sprinkle of flour should do the trick. It's all about achieving that perfect balance. The dough's texture and consistency are key to making the best chocolate chip cookies. It's a lot like life, isn't it? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, all mixed together to create something truly delicious. With our dough prepared, we're ready to move on to the next step, shaping and baking our cookies. The fun part has arrived. It's time to shape our cookies and bake them to perfection. Now, a wonderful thing about making cookies from scratch is that you can shape them any way you want. Traditional circle? Sure thing. Hearts or stars? Go for it. Just remember, the key to perfect cookies lies in their uniformity. That's right. Each cookie should be the same size and thickness. This ensures they all bake at the same rate, and you don't end up with some cookies burnt while others are undercooked. To achieve this, you can use a cookie scoop or a tablespoon measure. Scoop up a level amount of dough and then gently roll it into a ball. Place the dough balls onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, leaving about 2 inches between each one for spreading. If you want to add an extra touch of sweetness, sprinkle a little bit of sea salt on top. The contrast of sweet and salty will take your cookies to the next level. Now let's talk about baking. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the sweet spot for cookies. Hot enough to make them crispy on the outside, but cool enough to keep them chewy on the inside. Slide your baking sheet into the center of the oven. This is crucial for even baking. Bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on your cookies during the last few minutes. You're looking for a golden brown color around the edges. Once your cookies are done, resist the temptation to grab one right away. Let them cool on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes before transferring them to a cooling rack. This allows the cookies to set and hold their shape. And there you have it, freshly baked cookies straight from the oven, but we're not done just yet. Fresh out of the oven, our cookies might be tempting, but they're not quite ready to be devoured. Now, let's talk about the unsung heroes of the cookie-making process: cooling and storing. It's easy to overlook these steps, but they're essential for achieving that perfect cookie crunch and for preserving the delightful freshness of your cookies. Cooling isn't just a waiting game, it's a vital stage in the baking process. When cookies come out of the oven, they're still cooking from the residual heat. If you bite into a cookie straight out of the oven, not only could you burn your tongue, but you'd also miss out on the full flavor profile that develops as the cookie cools. So how exactly do we cool our cookies? Simple. Just leave them on the baking sheet for about 2 to 3 minutes, then transfer them to a wire rack. Spreading them out on a wire rack allows air to circulate around the cookies, cooling them evenly and quickly. After cooling, it's time to store our cookies. An airtight container is the cookie's best friend. It keeps them fresh, maintaining that perfect balance of chewiness and crunch. If you've baked a large batch, you might consider freezing some. Just ensure they're completely cool before popping them in a freezer-friendly container. Patience pays off, and now our cookies are finally ready to be enjoyed. So there you have it, the secret to the best, freshest homemade chocolate chip cookies. Let's quickly run through the recipe one more time, just to ensure you've got all the steps down pat. We start by gathering our ingredients, which include the likes of flour, baking soda, salt, unsalted butter, sugar, brown sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, and of course, chocolate chips. Always remember to use high-quality ingredients for the best results and make sure everything is at room temperature before you start mixing. The mixing process is simple, but crucial. Cream the butter and sugars together until they're light and fluffy. Then add the eggs one at a time, followed by the vanilla extract. Slowly incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet mix, and once you have a smooth dough, fold in your chocolate chips. Next, we shape our cookies and pop them into the oven. Aim for a golden brown color, and remember, they'll continue to cook a little even after they're out of the oven. Once they're baked to perfection, let them cool on a wire rack. And finally, store your cookies in an airtight container to keep them fresh and delicious. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the world of home baking. We encourage you to try this recipe at home and share your experiences with us. Don't forget to subscribe for more tasty creations.